but I'm here nevertheless. And welcome. I see a lot of regulars in the chat. You're not late, Luxan? I am. See, this is the best way to behave, like when you're late, to the point where the people in the chat wonder if they're late. It was an eventful day today. Did you know that? Apparently, we had more journalists writing articles about Baldur's Gate. And I noticed something interesting. Despite the fact that Baldur's Gate, and I played a little bit, like so far it's an excellent game. It's really good. I didn't want to play it, but I realized that someone gave it to me when it was early access. So I was going in Steam, and I noticed that I have it in the list. And I was like, why do I have this game in the list? And then I was like, oh, someone gifted to me so I can make a review. And I remember, like, back in the day, I actually did talk about it 2 years ago. So I actually did have it. I didn't plan to buy it, but I actually did have it. Anyway. It turns out that the game is good, and the journalists started talking about it. Like, they're not talking about the gameplay mechanics. They're not talking about the story or anything. No, they're talking about the bear sex. Literally, every single journalist. And it bothers me because, like, a couple of weeks ago, they were talking about how Cammy's costume is problematic. And, yeah, they literally view... Because this is the main issue. It's not even about games. But we have gotten to a point where the people who are the gatekeepers of culture, the journalists, they believe that straight vanilla sex is regressive. It's kind of like going back to the steam engine. It's like going back to the industrial revolution. Like, they viewed that as defective, evil. Like I was talking today about Miranda's ass from Mass Effect, which they decided to censor, and there was like this lady from BioWare, and she was trying to defend the decision of censoring Miranda's ass. And I'm thinking, like, no, like, literally, this is it. This is the explanation. They view that humanity has moved away from the traditional sexuality, right? So, like, a boy that likes a girl, like an old Disney romance, it's not even about sex. But, like, the traditional romance where a boy likes a girl, you know, like the prince likes the princess, that is outdated. Like, we moved away from that. That is evil. It's like looking at how the Inquisition used to burn witches. Like, that is in the past. The progressive vision is bear sex, chicks with dicks, like in Baldur's Gate. Like, literally every single thing that would have been considered degenerate, now that is considered normal, healthy, what decent people like. Bad people, they like the traditional thing. That is literally what it's about, right? Because a lot of people don't understand why I'm getting so worked up about it. And it's like, well, if I don't get worked up about it, who? Who will? No one will. I'm literally one of the few people that is calling it out because it's embarrassing. Like, most people don't want to risk their reputation to talk about sexuality. That's the point. The only people that talk about sexuality are the video game journalists who are in positions of prestige, and they get to talk about it. And then there's people like me, right? But, like, average people, if you talk about the fact that, well, I don't like the fact that this game doesn't have, like, beauty in it, you're going to go like, oh my god, you're a coomer, pervert, bleh. And people don't talk about it because they're ashamed. Yeah, literally, they're saying it's outdated. That's what they're implying. They're not saying it, but they're viewing it as oppressive. And what I also find interesting, right? I don't support the e-girl industry. Like, I flat out say it, but just because I don't support it, I don't want it banned either. Alright? But I do think that it's something that is a net negative. Let's put it like that, right? Because you have someone's daughter, like someone's little girl, someone's baby girl, is showing her tits for the internet to see. And someone else's son, right? Like how would your mother feel if you spent $5,000 on an e-girl, right? And OnlyFans or Twitch are taking a big chunk of that transaction. Now, again, I don't think it should be banned. I have no problem with it from that point of view. But at the same time, I wouldn't want my daughter doing it. You know, I wouldn't want my son doing it. But this is encouraged. Like, this level of behavior is encouraged, promoted, that's fine, you know, like, and if you criticize it, you're a sexist, misogynistic pig. But cartoon characters are too much, right? So like the real thing, like the real thing is fine, where like a woman shows her titties on Twitch in a bathtub, that's fine. But a cartoon character, if you have like 1 pixel of Twitty, 1 pixel of us, censored, adult only. That's the problem that I have, you know? And no people even want to engage with this discussion. Like, all people are going, oh my god, touch grass, Coomer, whatever. It's not about Coomerism. It's about, like, why can't the standards be the same for everything? Why can't we apply, like come up with a set of guidelines, a set of rules, and we can apply it to everything? Hope your day is good. Another day, another rig. Oh, you've no idea. Like, we're going to watch something really interesting today. E-girls will be banned along with VTuber, alcohol, and condoms. No, I don't believe so. I don't believe so. It's too profitable. I don't think they will be banned. And again, like, I don't think they should be banned. Like, that's another thing. You know, like, you realize that society is not about, like, winning or losing. It's about compromise. Like, if you don't get e-girls, you're going to get something else. Because here's the thing. Most people who watch e-girls or who watch pornography or something like that, they're not watching it because, like, they're filled with women online. Sorry, they're filled with women in their lives. Like, they have girls calling them on their phone 24/7. But like, they instead go like, no, I'm going to watch VTubers. That's not how it works. Like, you have a couple of lonely men which need to cope, right? That's what they do. And they have money to spend. I will find it interesting if you find the right winger which is going to make the case that prostitution is better than OnlyFans. They will say it's the same, but it's not the same. One carries venereal illnesses and venereal diseases, and it requires a person to actually engage in genuine sex acts in real life. The other one is done through computer and pictures, right? Like we as a society, believe it or not, have progressed. We moved away from the traditional prostitution, right? Like, now it's called sex work, but there's no sex. So in a way, I would say that it is better. I am willing to bet. I don't have statistics or polls, but I'm willing to bet if you ban Twitch and OnlyFans, and you actually manage to ban it effectively to the point where you can't find it anywhere, you're going to get more pornography in real life. Like, I do think, like, you're going to get more hookers. More women of low moral fiber. You're going to get more, not less. Because you're creating a bigger demand in the market. My friend complains that the men over-sexualized and should be made uglier on video games. Yeah, that's the brainlet argument. Like, why do you want art to just be ugly? Like, I don't want to see men like myself in video games, because I see them in real life. And I see myself in the window. It's called a fantasy for a reason. The Romanians saying that we have moved away from prostitution show how much I know about the world. But it's true, though. We did. There's less prostitution now than there used to be 50 years ago. Like, that's a fact. Because think about it. If you have a woman that can do OnlyFans, she's going to do OnlyFans. She's not going to prostitute herself. Like, why would she? Most women don't like to prostitute themselves. Like most prostitutes do it because, like, they're pushed into that corner rather than that they want that corner. Like, no one grows up and it's like, I want to be a prostitute when I grow up. Like, no, that's... Right? So, like, it is what it is. Ugly art is disgusting and demoralizing, yeah. Anyway, right, so let's listen to what this lady has to say. I wasn't going to make another video where we listen to her streams, but on my free time, I saw that she uploaded a more recent video that I didn't know about, and the take is very interesting and I want to address it. So, let me find her channel again. It was The Anime Tea. And I look like her videos aren't that bad. Like, most of her videos, she's actually analyzing certain anime episodes and tropes, right? But then you have, like, videos that I think, like, she's making them specifically to gather outrage. Like this video, right? We need to talk about the shoujo girls. 140,000 views. When you get 140,000 views on a video on a 23,000 channel, it's literally people telling you make more of this. So even if you believe it or not, there is clearly a financial incentive of making more about it, right? So as you can see, like the videos where she actually talks about like analyzing an episode, or she's like positive, or like talks about something interesting, she barely gets any views. She gets like 3.6 thousand views. Why Ikemen are better than Bishonen, 9.3 thousand, right? But when she talks about, we need to talk about the shoujo girls, all of a sudden 140,000. And this is why I tell people, right? Do not contact these individuals. Not only because I don't want them to think that there's because like a lot of these individuals believe that criticism is harassment, right? So not only I do not want you to lead them to think that you're harassing, but on top of that, like, you're literally giving what they want. They want clicks, okay? So just don't contact them. Ignore it. It will go away. But some of the arguments that they're making are interesting, because I heard these arguments on Twitter, right? So it's not necessarily that I am criticizing her. I want to criticize the arguments that she's making. And she says the quiet part out loud. This is what I love the most. And you're going to hear it in a bit.
You might already think of a few anime protagonists that fit the bill. A caring to a fault, hopelessly klutzy, sweet girl who can often be self-sacrificing.
She's talking about the wholesome girl trope. You know, the type of female character that most men like in media and fiction.
And because of these traits, they always end up getting the popular or main boy's attention in the end. These character types can come off to many as idealistic and at times annoying. Some even believe that the reason many shoujo series don't get adapted into anime anymore is due to most protagonists of those series being naive girls that are no longer relatable or ideal in today's climate.
That's the problem, right? Like that is right there. She said the quiet part out loud. It's today's climate, right? So it's not that media should create culture. Like, for example, what I mean by this. Back in the day, you had goth music. And the goth music created a culture of goth. Like, all of a sudden, you see people going around, and they have, like, these talking points that other goth people had. You know, oh my god, life is so bad, life is so dark. And they would dress in a specific way. And it also created certain movies and cartoons inspired from the goth theme. Like, for example, Beetlejuice, The Addams Family, so on and so forth, right? But it was like a ground up type of culture. You have like the people going around, doing their stuff, and creating a culture. You didn't have like someone on top and it's like, well, no, like the goths need to dress like this, need to behave like that. No. It was like people naturally adopting the thing. It's same with the weeb culture, as, you know, pejoratively is called in the United States. It's like anime exists, people like anime, and then they start cosplaying and stuff. But now you have like the fascistic mindset. The fascistic mindset means top-down, dictating top-down. Like the communicat has came down and you have to comply. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if it's good or not. No, the communicat has been decreed. And it's like, okay, well, in 2023, female characters have to be this way. Like, this is the box that you're allowed to create female characters as. Any deviation is viewed as a problem. Especially actually if it's popular. Especially if people like it. That is a problem. You have to create characters this specific way. Because it's current year. This is literally the mentality that is being portrayed here. You miss goth girls? Me too. The video audio comes from my microphone. Doesn't fucking matter. Shut up. Does it come from my microphone?
After all, it's 2023. And independent girls and women who know how to navigate the world and are capable of breaking through any glass ceiling
This is another thing that I hate. Is like women are capable of breaking through any glass ceiling. I mean, it depends on the individual. Like with my squeaky voice, I will never break through the glass ceiling of being a rock star. Like, I just can't do it. You know, human beings do have limitations. It matters like what type of individual you are. But this idea that you can do everything, no, stop with that shit. Okay, like there are people. And by the way, I think like everyone has like a skill limit. And it's unfortunate, like this is a truth that they don't want to admit. But like, for example, if I want to play League of Legends, right? Even if I were to play day and night, non-stop, There is a skill level that I would reach. Like, because otherwise, everyone that plays and invests time would reach champion level. But in reality, like, there are people who manage to reach gold 2, and they never climb out of the gold league, no matter how much they play. There are people who manage to reach diamond, right? There are people who give up. And it's the same thing, like, just to say, oh, well, you're a woman, so therefore, you can break any glass ceiling, but that's not fucking true now, is it? Like, there are certain things as an individual, because you're still a human being, like, you haven't transcended humanity, you haven't become an angel or a fairy or whatever. You're still a human being, and you have limitations. I agree, progressing from prostitution to e-stripping, but the problem is the internet, there forever, especially, like, the e-thought has kids. I'm sure we read news about the boy leaving a suicidal note to bullying because of her. Well, yeah, I mean, like, there's definitely other problems, but, like, what you're saying, it's like, with the boy who got bullied because his mother was an e-girl, obviously, you know, that's not a good thing that it happened, but how do you think he would have been treated if people found out that his mother was a prostitute back in the 40s? I mean, it is what it is. Very few people have any ability to break any ceiling. Yeah, most people aren't remarkable. It's why, you know, it's called average. It's like what most people can do. And it's even viewed as an insult for some reason. But being average shouldn't be an insult. It's like, well, you know, it's what's expected of you. And also, it's interesting, like, some people can break some glass ceilings, but others can't. Like, just because you're a good chess player doesn't mean you're a good physicist. Just because you're a good chess player doesn't mean you're a good physicist. Or just because you're a good athlete doesn't mean you're a good mathematician. Right? Like, it's best to know what people's skills are. But even then, you know, the main issue that I have with the modern woman that Hollywood is depicting is that it's immersion breaking. Like, these types of women do not exist in real life, regardless of how much Hollywood tries to portray them. Like, for example, the female character which beats up 5 men twice her size within the couple of 30 seconds. Like, I'm sorry, but that just doesn't exist in real life. And from my personal experience, most women aren't even violent or even attracted or interested in violence. So when you have an anime with a woman that's wholesome, and, you know, like, she's being a little bit of a klutz, but at the end of the day, she manages to win the main character's heart, that is more fucking relatable. That is, like, more to what I see around me and the women that I know than someone like Captain Marvel. And I'm not talking about her superpowers, I'm talking about her behavior. Another good example is how Cersei Lannister used to behave in Season 1 compared to how she was behaving in the last seasons. Like, in Season 1, she was very behind the scenes. She was very conniving, manipulating people from behind the scenes without anyone knowing that she's responsible for some of the stuff that was happening. And it requires a lot of intelligence to do that. She was still an evil character. But by the end of the season, she's, like, upfront, you know, in a society that is supposed to be very misogynistic because it's a medieval society, where if you're born a bastard, people don't, they don't even want to listen to you, right? Like, birthright is everything that matters. But like, all of a sudden, I am led to believe that Cersei is now just up front and center, and no one has a problem with it. There's no riots. There's no, you know, like, everyone is fine with the massive cultural shift. And that is because it's bad writing. That's why. Right? Because they didn't create Cersei like that because that's what the story demanded and that's what the story was going and what the setting wanted. They made Cersei like that simply because, well, what this lady says is 2023 and women have to be written this way. And you look at Game of Thrones and literally every single woman was a Cersei. Like by the end, so again, like in the beginning, in Season 1, we are presented with a very horrible universe. You know, a very dark place, which is pretty similar to what medieval Europe used to be, where you have the peasantry that don't even matter, like, we don't even talk about them, because they're pretty much like nobodies. And then the only people that matter are the nobles, who, because of their games and ambitions, they get a lot of people killed. And amongst the nobles, right, like, the only thing that matters is birthright. And then, like, women are treated as, well, they're not necessarily, like, second-class citizens, but they have their own roles and their own duties and obligations, and okay, but then, like, by the end of the season, it's only women that have the power. Like, I don't think, like, there's any men which are in power, because you have, like, Queen Cersei leading the Lannisters, you have Sansa Stark leading Winterfell, you have Daenerys leading her army, you have like that child, John Mormont, which the Mormont lady, which is leading her island. Like literally, it's like the women are the center players in a medieval society, and I'm like, but that's not how the story started. Nor do you notice exactly when this took place. And everyone is fine with it, because that's the main problem, right? Like, in the beginning, they say, well, no one is going to follow a bastard. Like, that was actually a big theme in the whole show. It's like, well, you don't have the birthright, right? But okay, it is what it is. My point is that this is the type of writing which we are being portrayed. It's like, you have to write women this way because it's current here. So, if you have, like, an interesting story, you're not allowed to write it. Unless you write it specifically based on the guidelines. Also very interesting, and I think it's worth pointing out, the West can't do romance anymore. Did you notice that? Like, what is the last romance that you have seen in the West? If you want good romances, like, watch old Disney movies. But the new Disney movies, they just don't have romance. Like, none of the characters they make are romanceable. You know, like the old Ariel that they used to was like a wholesome, you know, like you'd want her as a girlfriend. She was very beautiful, wholesome, and very nice lady. The new Ariel isn't. It's just like flat out not there because she's poorly written. The personality just isn't there. Yeah, it's the message, as you like to call it. Everything has to be with the message. But the problem is, like, I already know the message and I disagree with the message. So when you make the message, you're boring me to death. I already heard it. Yeah, we lost the concept of romance. I mean, dude, I'm even looking at well-written movies. Like, for example, you have Invincible, right? So Invincible at one point gets a girlfriend. You know, he gets that, what's her name? That black lady. I know that she's black because they race swapped her from the comic book. That's another hallmark. You gotta race swap at least one character, otherwise you're not allowed to make the movie. But anyway, right? The love between them is so forced. Like, there are no sparks between those characters. There's nothing. There's no romance. There's no, like, all of a sudden, she's taking the initiative, and she's like, okay, you're my boyfriend now. And I genuinely, like, don't see what she brings on the table. Like, throughout the whole time, she's upset that he is late for dates. And then it's revealed that Amber, okay. And then it's revealed that she even knows that he is a superhero, and she knows that he is saving people, but she's upset that, you know, he has the audacity to save other people rather than be with her. So it's not just like her design is ugly, by the way, because, I mean, if you want to see a nice person of color, look at how Storm used to look in the X-Men. Like, you can make people of color that look good. But anyway, right, it's like, she's just, like, a little bit above average. Not only, like, she's not attractive and not appealing, but her personality is rotten to the core. Like, she's very selfish, self-centered, right? She's the epitome of the universe, and, like, what is she offering? Right? Like, she is into this demigod, which has superpowers and is able to do literally anything. Like, she wants him, and instead, like, what exactly is she giving on the table? What is she offering to the relationship? And the answer is jack shit. Absolutely nothing. Entitlement, that's what she's offering. And then for some reason, I, as the viewer, am supposed to look at that and say, wow, what a good female character depiction. Wow, what a great depiction of a character. You know, at least with Skylar in Breaking Bad, I understood the whole thing. Like, she was, again, like a rotten personality. Like you know, she was a criminal as well. Cooked the books. Stole the money from her husband in order to give it to her boss. Was trying to micromanage and emasculate her husband since episode 1. Like Skylar was rotten to the core, but at least she was good looking, so you could make the argument. It's like, okay, so like this is why Walt liked her. A good, you know, like everyone goes like, oh my god, you don't like Skylar because you're a misogynist. If you want to see a good female character, Kim from Better Call Saul was like a really well written, likable female character. Kim was definitely, when the writers went, okay, we fucked up with Skylar, let's make something that's more cool and relatable, and they made Kim. Everyone hated Skylar. Skylar was peak modern woman, as people are calling. Like, literally, in the first episode, right? Like, what do we notice? She is nagging on Walt for having 2 jobs, while she doesn't have a single job. So she's not working and is upset that her husband is working 2 jobs, because if you look at it, they live in this huge mansion of a house, which probably costs a lot just to pay the property tax for, right? So she's upset that her husband has 2 jobs. She decides that on her husband's birthday, they're going to have a vegan meal, despite the fact that her husband definitely says that he prefers that they would eat bacon. Like, she's so micromanaging everything and is bringing nothing to the table. Absolutely nothing. She doesn't even have sex with Walt on his birthday. Just gives him like a bored off hand job. And I'm thinking like, okay, well, at least I understand because she's good looking, you know, and like Walt would definitely feel emasculated and would think that he is not worthy of her, so he is going to try everything possible in order to leave something for his family. Which is what happens. He gets diagnosed with cancer and then realizes, well, why not just do drugs for a living? And that's how Breaking Bad takes place. But at least it's not immersion breaking because she's good looking. If she was ugly looking or mediocre, then nothing would make sense. The entire Breaking Bad universe, to me as a viewer, would be immersion breaking. It's like, okay, well, she doesn't have anything in personality. She doesn't have anything in looks. Why the fuck is he staying with her? Like, what? Why is he still hooked up with? Like, he's a genius. He's got 2 jobs. Why is he supporting her? Amber is supposed to be a disposable girlfriend. I have read the comics, but I'll tell you this: I wouldn't be surprised if they change it. I wouldn't be surprised if they make it so that Amber is there. And the thing with Amber is, like, you say that she's supposed to be a disposable girlfriend, but the writers are upset that people don't like her. So, like, literally, the writers have tried to make her likable. I don't know how they think she's likable. I don't know what character traits she has that the writers like. But I can't find a single redeeming quality about her. It isn't just anyone. She's not supportive. She's not good looking. There's no romance. There's nothing. Like, at least one out of the list. But no. Yeah, they're intentionally breaking plausibility. Like they literally believe that if the whole media, like this is what the progressive mentality is, that if you create all the movies and all the video games and all the comic books during the night, people will think that there is no more sun outside. Like, literally, that's what they think. Like if every single movie would take place during 11 p.m. to 12 a.m., then people will think that outside is always dark. She is black, she is likable. Oh, is that how it works? I guess, like, if you're a progressive and you're a raging racist and you just stereotype people, right? You know, like, I never understood, like, the opposite. It's like, well, people who want to go to Japan because they like anime, and I'm like, you do realize, because it's literally the same concept. Like, you do realize that the culture in anime is not the same like the culture of the Japanese people. Like, one is fiction, the other one is reality. You need to separate yourself. Like, Japanese people do not act like people act in anime. Like, for fuck's sakes, grow the fuck up. There are a lot of people who go to Japan because they like anime and they want to live there, and then they're shocked. It's like, oh, holy shit, like, this culture, I can't deal with it. And it's very difficult. But by the way, like, it's difficult because Japan has a very collectivist culture, right? Like, the culture in Japan is all around how to not upset others. Like, that is the core of their entire culture. How can I behave in society and not stand out and not upset or offend others, right? The American culture is like, how can I advance the ranks? And you don't care, like, if at the workplace you're literally stepping on your coworkers to rise to the top. Like, that's actually encouraged, right? Like, being very competitive, being, you know, outspoken, like that, well, at least it used to be. Like, that is the individualist culture, right? Like, you are supposed to stand out if you want to get promoted. But in Japan, it's the opposite. So, like, when Japanese people come to America, they have the culture shock and vice versa. Japan culture is completely different, yes. And by the way, like, it's to the point where most Japanese people, at least the ones that I work with, it's quite difficult. I think it's difficult for them to work with me and vice versa. They have, like, this culture where they're acting like teenage girls, like, unironically. They don't say what they mean. So, like, for example, if you do a business with someone and they say, okay, well, I'm a little bit busy right now, but maybe I'll give you a drawing by September. And then as August comes along, they say, well, I actually remember that I have a different obligation, so I don't know, so we'll talk later. And then they start responding to DMs, and you're like, okay, well, do you want to do it? Like, are they going to come back? Is this their way of saying that they want to fuck off? You don't know. So that's the main issue that I'm having, and it's not just this; it's like almost everywhere. Like they're acting in a way like teenage girls act in high school. This is how women used to do. Like, you know, if they don't want to date someone, like they will say, all right, well, let's schedule a date. Okay, well, this Friday. And by Thursday, they will say, oh, something came up. And then they would leave it hanging. But it is what it is, you know. No isn't in their vocabulary. Yeah, pretty much. Ghosting, yes. It is a thing that I noticed. It's, I don't know, it's a little bit difficult to do business like this, but
Are the ideal main characters. Girls want to be empowered, not told to fit the quiet, obedient mold that has been shoved down our throats for generations.
Do girls want to be empowered, though? Do they? I mean, do you not think there may be girls that don't want to be empowered? Because again, there was like a very good explanation. You know, when you're 50, and you have like 10 grandkids visiting, like everyone is going to be like, wow, you're the person that gave birth to 10 other human beings. I mean, that is such a fucking accomplishment, especially if those 10 other human beings manage to have their own families and be successful. Like that is like, everyone will remember you for that, right? Like everyone will remember grandma when she passes away. And there's going to be people bringing flowers to your grave, and there's going to be people that have a picture of you in their house. But if you're the vice president of sales and you have no family member, who's going to remember you? Is the company going to remember you? Probably not. Right? If you have no one that you leave behind, is there anyone that's going to give flowers to your grave? Probably not. When there's Christmas or Thanksgiving and you're old, are you going to get anyone visiting? Probably not. Right? Now, again, some women want to be the vice president of sales. More power to them. But not all. Right? So, like, why can't they be represented in anime? And again, you know, like from a dating point of view, when I dated the women and, you know, when I met my wife, the last thing on my mind is like what her accomplishments are as a profession. You know, like what job she has, how much she earns. I didn't give a shit. Like that doesn't even count. Again, you know, it's not about me, but like I can tell you this is how most men feel. Like, we genuinely don't care. And this is like something of a disconnect, because the ideology is hiding this from you. And you end up being, you know, a CEO or a vice president or some shit like that. And you're a Pikachu face because, like, you want to date men that make as much as you, that are from the same circles as you. And they're not interested in you. Instead, they're dating the 18-year-old supermodel. They're dating, like, this wholesome anime girl that you're criticizing. And they're not doing this because they saw anime and the anime told them that this is... No. They're doing it because this is how men are hardwired to act. Like, men and women are there to complete each other, not to compete with each other. And what's interesting is that all of Western media is depicting the strong woman that you want. Like, all of Western media right now is beating the drum of the strong, empowered woman. The reason people are watching anime, mostly, is because they are sick and tired of the Western media. They want something else. Why is it wrong that something else exists in the world? Why is it that Americans aren't happy with the stuff they have and they want to impose their stuff on other cultures and other people? Like, anime, the reason it's good is that it was made by Japanese for Japanese. The fact that you as an American get to enjoy it is a bonus. But, like, for some reason, you want to change that. And I saw what happens when Americans make anime. Like what was it? Guardian Spice? Jesus fucking Christ. We saw what happened when Netflix did their interpretation of Cowboy No Bebop. Stop it. Please, just stop. If you I hate this argument. I like X. I love X. However, why can't X be more like P? Because I think X should be more like P because X is... because more people like me would then watch it. Like, P is more inclusive. We need to make X like P. No, like, just leave X the way it is if you like it. And if you don't like it, you already have a P. Go watch that. Go watch Netflix. Go watch Disney. Go watch Marvel. You got DC. You got all these other comic book companies. You got like so much other entertainment that is more to your liking. Why do you have to change anime? And again, like an interesting thing, and I said this before. If you don't like the medium, why don't you make your own? Now you'll say, well, you're just dismissing. No. I'm making my own fucking video game because I hated the fact that there is no video game like the one that I want to make, right? So I decided to do a crowdfunding to try and raise money in order to create the video game that I like. It's 2023. You don't need to have any skill in order to make a video game. You don't need to know how to draw. You don't need to know how to code. You need to hire people. You need to commission people. You have websites that make this very easy. You have crowdfunding websites. So you literally can create your own manga where you can make whatever female character you want. But you're showing, again, like this is the problem that I have with this channel. She is showing a character which is incredibly popular and is complaining about it. Like, I would understand if you show the character that I didn't know who they are and you'd be like, okay, well, here's how the producers could have fixed it to make it better. But instead you're showing a character, Gravity Girl, which is one of the most popular characters. Like, if you make right now a top 10 waifus from anime, she would probably be at least a number 9. And I think, like, the main issue is that these animes aren't made for you, literally. They're made for teenage boys. And on top of that, the current culture views that anything made for teenage boys is evil. Like, it's wrong if you make if you make an anime that caters to teenage boys.
Generations. And to that point, there are plenty of characters that fit this type in action and fantasy series. But when it comes to series that are meant to reflect real life, like slice of life or drama series, we tend to only get the classic, quiet, caring, good girls, especially in shoujo series.
Not to mention, like, most women that I know online, in real life, are quiet and good. At least the ones in Romania. So I guess, like, you know, culturally, it also matters where you are and the type of people you know around you. But, like, being shy, quiet, and withdrawn is not necessarily a bad thing. Like, some people actually enjoy being quiet. I, for example, don't like going to parties. Like, I think it's a hell if you force me to go to a wedding or something like that, okay? Now, if I were to have someone deciding, no, actually, V is living his life poorly, and he has to go to parties. So we need to, like, make it more popular to go to parties by having, like, this reflected in anime, movies, and game. I would find it obnoxious. It wouldn't get me to go to parties. I was just like, no, I like being solitary. I like being in my room, making my videos, and then going and fucking my wife. That's my day. That's what I like to do. That's my enjoyment. Like, please leave me the fuck alone. Stop trying to socially engineer me.
While I think that criticisms can and should be made for many examples of how girls are often portrayed in anime, I think there's an aspect to the good girl dilemma in particular that gets overlooked.
Yeah, I mean, this is another thing. It's like, oh, well, we're just criticizing. But, like, sure, you're not allowed to criticize it, but I'm also allowed to criticize the critic. Because this is something that I noticed, right? Like, you have these critics criticizing, but the moment you criticize the critic, people freak out. It's like, no. And by the way, again, 140,000 views with only 7.7 thousand upvotes. It's like, well, a lot of people are criticizing you.
That tends to be forgotten, even when talking about just representation and storytelling as a whole. Well,
why do I want to be represented? Another thing, you know? Like, I already have my life. I know how it is. Why would I want other people to represent it? No, just give me fantasy. Give me out of the ordinary stuff. If I want representation, I would just go outside and I would look at other people. Like, what I want in anime is the fantastic, the extraordinary.
Welcome, anime friends. If you're new here, hi, my name is Phoenix, and today we'll be deconstructing the good girls often seen in shoujo romance to determine if their existence and persistence in stories is actually as bad as some would argue.
I love it how, like, they don't criticize, like, whether it makes money or not. Because, like, literally, it's a business, right? Like, that's how it works. People who make anime cost money. Like, an artist is very expensive. Like, did you even know how expensive hand animation is? So in order for those people to keep making that anime, they have to be profitable. So you're not criticizing it like whether it's profitable or not. And in order to be profitable, it means that people need to like it. Like, you need to have a consumer base that buys it. No, your criticism is literally, well, is it bad or not? Like, what is bad to begin with? right? Like, you are like, you're deconstructing, but like one of the most easy words to deconstruct in the whole fucking world is the definition of good and evil. Because what's good for one person is evil for another, and vice versa. So I find this like very hilarious, right? Like, they will say, well, we're deconstructing this and we're deconstructing that, but you're using words that are so easily deconstructible. It's not even funny. So like, yeah, like what is a good depiction of a girl? Like, why? Like the one that you just gave, it's like, well, she needs to succeed at everything and break every glass ceiling and blah, 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 blah. That's a boring character, though. Like, what are her flaws, right? Like a character that succeeds at everything is not even human. Human beings fail. Human beings have flaws. If you have a good idea and can present the idea with some proof of concept like illustration and GIF animations, people would support it. Yeah, that's absolutely true. American Outlier is making a manga. I keep saying this on my channel. He's making a really great manga. Like, why? Because he wanted one that doesn't exist, and he is making it. There's no fucking excuse. Literally, in 2023, if you have a YouTube channel with 140,000 views per video, there is no excuse on why you shouldn't create your own entertainment. Like, do the stuff you want. You know, create the romance that you want, and get the women to behave any way you want. Good definition, no flaws. Yeah, but like, no, you can't deconstruct that, dude. Like, I'm not even going to get into it. Big old titties is good expression, yes. She's a, I don't know if she's a Marxist, but she is espousing Marxist ideas. Like she is a postmodernist. If you start talking with words like deconstructing, like whether you know it or not, this is what you're doing. You're basically using critical theory in order to analyze an anime, and critical theory doesn't care if it's popular, doesn't care if people like it. Like they will unironic. Like perfect example. I will tell you what critical theory is, right? Megan Rapinoe, the football player. She made the world record again. The first world record was for being the first white woman that kneeled at the national anthem. The second world record was for her team losing, being disqualified from the World Cup for female soccer players at the fastest rate. So, like, they got disqualified the fastest that the US has ever been in human history. So, like, she set 2 world records. But you know what? She's still respected. Why is she respected? Because it doesn't matter, the game doesn't matter. Like, the soccer doesn't matter. What matters is that she said the correct speeches, she said the correct things, she behaved in the appropriate manner. That's what's important, right? Like, she pushed social justice. That is the most important thing. The same with Bud Light. Like, Bud Light, when it pissed off the overwhelming amount of people that were the customers, no one cared. The moment they said that, oh, we apologize for the controversy, that's when the left started boycotting them. Because it's like, oh, so you're saying that, like, Dylan Mulvaney is controversial? How dare you? There's no controversy there. Everyone likes Dylan Mulvaney. Every single person. There is no human being on earth that doesn't like Dylan Mulvaney. Are you mad? So, yeah. If you're saying you don't like the person, then you must be grifting. But that's where we're at. The game and skill don't matter. Yeah, like it's the way I like to say it, and I like to frame it. Ben and Jerry is a radical, far-left, ideological propaganda machine that happens to make ice cream. And it's the same with Disney, you know? It's a far-left, agitation, propaganda machine that happens to make movies. Like, they're not companies that create entertainment anymore. Like, the entertainment is secondary. The message is the first. Critical theory is complaining that your Ferrari has a small scratch in the paint inside of the door. No, critical theory is more like, okay, so, you're a store owner, right? And you have a black person and a white person coming into your store. And let's say, hypothetically, they arrive exactly at the same time. Who do you serve first, right? Now, critical theory means describing how the actions of the storekeeper is racist, right? Like, it's not asking, is the action racist? It's like, how is it racist? If he serves the black guy first, then you conclude that, okay, so this person is racist because he doesn't trust a black guy to stay unsupervised in his store for more than a minute, right? So he wanted to serve him so that he goes away. if he serves the white person first, then he's racist because, well, why would he not serve black people? Like, he basically thinks that the white person's time is more important than the black person. That's what critical theory does. Like, it literally, like, no matter what you do, and the solution, of course, is that the store owner needs to hire a diversity officer at his store, and then pay money for, like, diversity seminars and, like, re-educations, so that he can now behave like a normal human being. But, of course, all of this costs money, and the people that are going to provide him with the re-education need to be paid, and that's the whole grift. That is what critical theory is. And then, of course, his store is going to have to push the message. So if he is selling candy, he's going to start, talking about police brutality. He's going to have to start talking about, why the Republicans are racist and all that shit. That's literally the grift. It's astonishing. And yeah, eventually his store is going to get closed because no one goes there anymore. Right? Like people are going to be pissed off because he's going to take an ideological stand when as a store he shouldn't. His money, instead of being directed at improving the product and making the experience for the customer more accessible, is going to be directed to paying the diversity officers and the re-education brigade. His customers are probably going to his employees are probably going to insult his customers on Twitter. And anyone that, he's going to have like a really edgy take. And when people disagree with it, like his own employees are going to attack those people. So it's going to give him even more bad PR. So in the end, he's going to go out of a business. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, finding fault no matter how good things are. Of course. That's literally what critical theory is. What is the skin color of the shop owner? It doesn't matter. Really, like they can, because the grift is applied at a corporate level. So it doesn't even matter if you're like a black person owning the store. They don't give a fuck. It's not about social justice. Like that's the thing that most people don't get. It's not about like social justice or achieving what they're saying. It's about power and getting money. It's a racketeering business. That's what it is. Anyway, let's go back to the pretty lady.
Breaking down 3 anime girls who kind of flip the idea of what a good girl is on its head. Before you begin, there is one rule you must follow. Make sure to grab your cup, because it's time to spill, of shoujo romance series. This might be the least known series on the list, but arguably still one of the most impactful. In Kimi ni Todoke From Me to You, a quiet girl who happens to resemble a popular horror icon of the 2000s tries to make friends. But it's not until a boy oblivious to the rumors helps to encourage her to express herself that she finally starts to make true connections.
This is such a fucking wholesome anime. So, like, I never heard about it. I don't know why. It's the first time that I'm hearing. But it's awesome, right? It's a comedy. I mean, obviously, this doesn't happen in real life. Like, you're not going to see a girl that people think it's like, oh my god, she's like, she looks like a horror character or whatever. No, but I can definitely see, like, there's a journey. There's character development to be had, right? Like, she's a shy person. She is getting bullied by those that are out there. She's meeting a person that sees the good in her. I mean, this is classic. This is classic romance. When you have, like, a character that is shunned by everyone, but, like, someone notices the good in them. It's kind of like The Ugly Duckling. I mean, it's such a fucking classic. You can't go wrong with it. If you want to make a story that's romance, like, you can go with this trope. It's very, very unlikely you will fail. I mean, again, like, when was The Ugly Duckling written? It's way before my time, right? But that's literally what the story is about. It's like, oh, this duck is ugly. Doesn't fit. Oh my god, it's a swan. It's more beautiful than any duck. But, if only you could have seen that. If only you could have noticed. By the way, it also happens in real life. Like, the girl that gets bullied in school becomes, like, the prima donna in high school. And you're like, oh god, why did I bully her? I could have been friends with her. But yeah, like, I mean, this is not an anime that is trying to teach girls how to behave. This is a fucking comedy. It's trying to make you laugh. And this is the problem that the critics don't understand. They think it's like, oh, it's monkey see, monkey do. It's like, if it's trying to entertain me. It's like watching a shonen. It's like watching Dragon Ball and thinking that, oh, this is trying to teach me how to be violent. This is trying to teach me how to do martial arts. Like, no guy thinks like that. No guy... And by the way, even Goku, which is the hero of Dragon Ball. He's got flaws. He's dumb as a rock. He's incredibly stupid. Right? But that's part of the comedy. Anyway.
The idea of the good, quiet, submissive girl who is also attractive and learns to overcome misunderstandings and miscommunications through the help of, a nice, beautiful, popular boy is not new to anime. I mean,
it's actually not new to storytelling. I mean, there's movies like that Hollywood used to make. I remember there was a movie called The Bet, right? And you have a half brother and sister, and the half sister says that if he manages to get the most ugly girl in school to become the school prom queen, she's going to have sex with him or something like that. This is like a Hollywood movie, right? But back in the day when Hollywood actually could make movies unrestricted, you weren't supposed to emulate those behaviors. Like, you weren't supposed to, try to have incest or anything like that. But it was a movie meant to entertain people. Like, you're looking at it and it's so ridiculous that it makes you fucking laugh. That was the whole fucking point. That is why we have entertainment. Otherwise, you just watch the news.
Even if you look at some recent series that came out this year, there's still series that follow this trope. In Kimi ni Todoke, Sawako, aka Sadako, is just another shy girl who seems to get attention because she's quiet and also pretty. Or at least that's what the Netflix drama adaptation would have you believe. But
I'm sorry, I don't watch Netflix adaptations. No. Just no. If you were to catch me committing a crime, any crime, and it's 5 years in prison, or watch this on Netflix, 5 years in prison. The judge wouldn't even finish the sentence. I would be years in prison. But I don't know. I know it's prison, but I don't know what prison is like, but I know what Netflix is like. I don't want Netflix. No, prison, please. Prison. Death sentence or Netflix? Death sentence. The chair. The chair, no. I don't know.
But in actuality, if you've read the manga or watched the anime, you would know that Sawako is a humorous, awkward, and relentlessly optimistic character, and that makes each attempt at her communicating both endearing and really encouraging. But a key part of understanding Sawako's character is actually in her internal dialogue. If the audience never got into Sawako's head and heard what she was thinking, about herself, about others, and how she was processing the world, it might be a lot harder to really relate or understand.
I find it very interesting, the American idea that the audience is stupid. Just because it's not expressly told, doesn't mean that I don't fucking get it. There used to be a lot of themes and movies that, would rely on the audience noticing things, like Twin Peaks, for example. In Twin Peaks, if you just watch season 2 without seeing season 1, you don't understand anything. But if you're paying attention to the show and you're very careful, you'd start unraveling the mysteries, and it's so satisfying when you do. And it also encourages people to talk with each other. So just because I don't know what goes on in a character's head doesn't mean I don't have empathy and I can't understand. It's okay, they're being shy. Yeah, they're being afraid of rejection or whatever. It's not a thing which, just because it's not outright stated and spoon-fed to me, I don't understand what it is.
And her, another character from another series, which I have famously bashed on, where the main character, titular character, faces a similar struggle as Sawako, arguably, but because we don't understand what's going on in her mind or hear how she is feeling from her own words, it can often feel like she's more of an object to be looked at and thought of as cute rather than...
Oh my god, oh, the progressive take, oh, she's like an object, oh, isn't it when you, okay, so first of all, it really depends, the thing that really bothers me is that if a human being wants to couple with another human being, the progressive mindset is going to say, well, it's objectifying. Okay, so how can romance happen without objectifying, right? Because objectifying means it's an object of desire, right? That's what you're saying. And when your mommy and daddy met, I'm pretty sure your daddy wanted to be in a relationship with your mommy. And in that moment, objectification happened. The only way you would have coupling without objectification is like if you go on a blind date and you fuck right there and then. Which unironically is what The Last of Us 2 did with the Abby sex scene, and it was one of the most disgusting, forced, cringe video game sex scenes that I have ever seen in my entire life. Like, literally, he just turns her around and just starts smacking into her. It's like, there's no foreplay, there's absolutely nothing, I don't even see the passion or anything. No, it's just the most disgusting, disturbing, and the journalists loved it. But the idea of objectification is not a bad thing. Like, I would be hard-pressed to understand why being objectified is wrong when every single human does it. The problem with the left is that they look at something that humanity does on a day-to-day basis and they say this is unacceptable. Like, don't tell me that women do not objectify men. Like a woman, you know, looking at a crush that she has in high school, she doesn't objectify him and thinks already about him being with her, caring for her, or doing stuff for her. Right, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. She shouldn't be ashamed. She shouldn't be like, oh, there's something wrong with... No, that is just like normal human behavior. I would assume even primates do it because it's hardwired into your brain, right? So when you like someone, you're going to objectify them. And this is just like when it comes to dating. But it's the same with the business. This is why communists actually hate private property, unironically. Like, they also believe that it's oppressive. Like, if you're a company, right? Like I, for example, want to make my video game. And I want to hire an artist, right? I don't care about their personality. I don't care about their day-to-day life activities. The only thing I care, like, can they draw, right? Like, can they draw and draw well? That's the only thing. And maybe, like, can they draw consistently? Other than that, I don't give a single fuck. Now, is the artist going to say, oh, well, I'm like an object to you. I'm like an art dispenser. Yes, I literally pay you for that. You know, like, other than that, that's our business transaction. That's where we're at. I don't care what you do in your free time. I don't, like, and you shouldn't care what I do in my free time, right? The only thing is a business transaction. I objectify you. Yes, you're an art dispenser. You get paid for that. If you don't like it, that's fine. There's other people that can get paid for it, right? So my point is that a feminist would say, well, that's objectifying. And, you know, like, okay, fine, but, like, men are treated like objects all the fucking time. Like for example, if you're a construction worker, you are treated like your back and your health is at risk. Like, you're selling your little body in order to do the construction. If you're an office worker and you're selling your mind, you're sitting on a chair 24/7, 12 hours a day, in some cases, where you're punching, right? So, like, I don't understand the problem. I literally don't. Like, well, what is wrong with being objectified? I even disagree with the word that they use, objectifying, like it's a bad thing. No, you're an object of desire, right? What's wrong with being an object of desire? Like, you're desirable. And? Is that a bad thing? Like, the opposite is even worse. The opposite, like, if no one considers you an object of desire, that is the worst position to be in. Like, that is going to make you depressed. If not a single person considers you their object of desire. Did you hear Reddit threatening the Gundam? The witch from Mercury team with arson for LGBT retcon? No, I haven't. I'm not surprised. She can't relate that the human condition in anime characters. Go back to Steven Universe. Probably, yes. I haven't watched Steven Universe, but I would assume that it's not very good. Do you objectify your wife? Yes, she is an object of desire for me and vice versa. It would be very sad to be in a relationship with someone that's not your object of desire. When a woman asks you to lift something for her, no, then you just become an object. You're not even an object of desire. You're just like a robot. You're supposed to do the job. What's wrong with having a cute, nice character? Well, apparently it can be objectified. So like, I guess, like, this is why they have their obsession with everything needs to look ugly, so that it is not an object of desire. It's like, I never understood this. Like, to me, it always eluded me. It's like, why would you think that being an object of desire for someone is a bad, undesirable trait? Which one in The Last of Us sex scene is the man? The one behind. Shame on me, I have no shame. Cute, nice characters threaten the power of Gorlock. Yes. And by the way, welcome back, CGR902. I missed you. Yeah, leftist is an ideology of jealousy, honestly. A lot of historians and cultural analysts pointed out, it's like, you don't like the poor, you hate the rich, right? It's kind of like that, and you can apply it to everything. Whom is taking her advice seriously? Oh, it's not her, per se. It's mostly like you're going to have journalists echoing the talking points, and then, like, people on Twitter that agree with her are going to brigade. And eventually, like, studios will think that, okay, well, this is popular, we need to do this. I missed you too, CGR902. Anyway, right, I'll have to end it here, because I still have 2 more videos to make. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for the super chats. I'll probably not make more responses to this lady because it's no point. But I just wanted you to hear like the opinions, which aren't her own, by the way. Like, I've seen them on Twitter. It's part of like wow, we've seen them for the last 4 years since 2016. Anyway, right. Take it easy, and I'll see you guys in the comment section. Take care.